Hi there, I'm Michael Hill with Canine Chronicle TV, and we're going to be talking about life lessons formed in junior showmanship. And today I have George Rohde here with me. How are you, George?
Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm great. Let's start with what is going on in your life right now. Where are you? What are you doing? What's happening in the world?
So surviving this pandemic, but my permanent residence is here in Chicago in the south suburbs. And my breed is rough and smooth collies. And from the standpoint, I've owned and bred multiple champions in both varieties. And apart from dogs, I pursued my PhD in higher education from DePaul University. I teach full-time in the College of Education, along with creating an initiative that empowers foster youth who are pursuing higher education, and taking a look at a campus support program that provides mentorship, advocacy, and educational opportunities for them.
That's awesome. How cool. And you're still actively showing the dogs too?
I'm still actively showing the dogs. Typically, I think I've taken the standpoint of being a breeder first and foremost, which I guess we can talk about. But yeah, I still get in the ring from time to time. So
awesome. Well, I love that you have a very full life, outside of dogs, and you're still able to maintain that involvement. I think that's something that's really cool to focus on. Why don't we talk about how you first got involved in dogs at the beginning?
So I grew up with a couple of collies as pets, and my dad and I would go to the International Kennel Club Dog Show at McCormick Place, which was one of the last bench shows. And we would walk around and we would talk with different breeders. And with, I guess, a vision in mind, I set out to learn about breeding and what that entailed. And I wanted to learn from influential breeders that really established a family of dogs. And as I was walking up and down the aisles of the bench shows, I noticed that certain breeders, all their dogs looked the same. And I thought that was truly a testament, and it was truly a remarkable attribute for that particular breeder. And so I really had the intention of creating my own breeding program. I did compete in juniors with the American Kennel Club. I have a slew of best junior handler wins, both from all breed and specialty wins. Like I said, it sort of took off from, getting my first show dog when I was 10 years old. And now I've bred, shown, and owned multiple champions in both rough and smooth. My dogs today go back to my dog from when I was a kid. And my dogs today have been in the top 10. They've been Westminster winners, national winners. And I think the one aspect I have to say with a caveat is, since I've done all the confirmation, I really applaud the people that have bought my dogs and have done performance, because I can't even begin to track the number of titles that they get on the other end of their name. And I just want to really applaud those owners too that do performance as well.
Especially in such a versatile breed, a working breed like that has the capability to do that. That's amazing. What were some of the things that you learned, particularly as a junior, because that's something that I think is a very unique experience for a younger person. Just owning a dog alone is a lot of responsibility, more so than the average, teenager, preteen. But actively competing and campaigning in that sense with the dog, how was that process for you, and who helped you in that process?
I think, to answer your question, I was honored to be mentored by some very noteworthy individuals in our breed. And I think I spoke to people when I was a junior that weren't necessarily handlers by trade, but were breeders. And I think that's really missing today. People who want to be genuine breeders, or at least those teaching young people how to be breeders. So I think it was really important for me to learn from instrumental breeders that created influential families of dogs, right? And ensuring that there were certain types of virtues that were made up in their quintessential collie, and those hopefully transferred over to my own. So I guess I could say one of the seminars that I had went to that really sort of stapled in my head was Danny Cardoza of Country View Collies. And he had a very clear seminar called The Eyes Have It. And if you know anything about collies, its expression is everything. And so really coming to find out what expression means, whether you can have everything that fits correctly into the head and it's still pleasing. And I really learned from Danny the virtues that are extremely important to me as a breeder. And even as a young age, being able to identify, finish a foreface, balanced outlines, well-fitted coats, showmanship, soundness, all of those tributes, I think, made an impact on me as a young person, which hopefully then transferred into creating my own family of dogs. And coming to understand too, that I think if you asked me kind of to define type in the breed, it would surely be centered around the hallmark of collie expression. But I think it was also really important for me to come to understand that as being a beautiful herding dog, they have to be sound and they have to be correct. And expression shouldn't go unnoticed. But when you look at a collie, you should be able to look into their soul. And it's like one of those things where you can't explain until you see it. And I think the mentors that I had that really drilled that into my head from a youngster really shaped how I felt as a breeder and what virtues I later adhered to in creating my family of dogs.
I love that. And then now at the position where you're in now, both professionally, with work, and then as a breeder, it sounds like you're in a position to mentor other people. And how has that experience been like for you?
So it's really difficult, and it really makes me, to be quite candid with you, it makes me really appreciate what my mentors did before me. And as early time breeders, I can tell you that this interview would not be complete without me talking about my first mentor, the late Joyce Wyman of Venice Collies. And I was very fortunate to be surrounded by a powerhouse of breeders in the Midwest at the time. Bertha Garrison, Rita Stanzik, Debbie Ferguson, and all these breeders sort of cultivated in the Midwest, and you had to pay your dues, and they were very generous with their time. And I think I could tell you all the times that I spent at Joyce's house weekend after weekend, studying and learning, not only about care of the dogs and husbandry skills when it comes to taking care of proper show dogs, but also the fact of learning about pedigrees and learning about genotypically versus phenotypically, line breeding versus inbreeding, all of those things. So when I expanded out, I guess you could say I looked for families of dogs that shared similar virtues to the ones that Joyce ingrained in me. And when I mentor people, or at least try to hopefully share some pearls of wisdom, I hope that people take either what I've said and they can either apply it to other kennels that they see, or that it can better improve them in being a student of the breed. That's my ultimate goal. And I feel like that's what Joyce wanted for me. And that's what I want for other people.
I think that's perfect. I think a great way to then segue from that is, what would be your vision from now moving forward, both professionally and related to dogs, continuing to teach and to breed at the same time? And are there any specific goals you have in mind?
So as far as teaching wise, I think ultimately creating this initiative around homeless youth in higher education plays a big role in my life at the moment. And it's really lifting off the ground, considering I'm finalizing my dissertation. It's going to be presented and then defended. So I'm really excited about that chapter of my life. And I think sort of academically, things are going well. And at the same time, I think in dogs is going really well, and being still very much active in breeding and showing dogs. And I guess I can say that this feature would not be complete without discussing the influence of my collie mother, and my partner and my best friend, Rochelle Veach, and of Holly Cove Collies. And so her and I are still very active in breeding dogs. We have a couple of litters planned this summer. But Rochelle is one of those people that has been really instrumental in putting not only herself on the map in her own right with her own dogs, but also me. And she has been really the fortitude of establishing our breeding program together and merging dogs together that we thought would complement each other. And I think it's really important to recognize the shoulders that I stand on is because of the fortitude of the other people that have made this breeding program possible. And as we continue to breed, hopefully the best collies and that adhere to the standard, I hope that I can continue to work with the people that I've cultivated relationships with. And I work with a very small knit of people within, obviously being Rochella, but also Victoria Soriano. She has been a huge part in making sort of the dreams and aspirations possible when it comes to, she just has such a fine eye for show dogs. And so, there's so many people, Michael, that I could tell you that have made it possible. And that when you asked me if how it's going to progress or how it's going to keep moving forward, I would be lying to you if I said it wouldn't happen without these people. And so
it's a collaboration.
Right. So I just want to acknowledge that, it's really between, Vicky and Rochella that this makes it all possible. And we all have our little niche. And I feel like as we develop as breeders, I think, Rochella is so good at whelping puppies. And I really enjoy whelping puppies too, but Rochella really enjoys whelping puppies. And Vicky really enjoys the all breed arena. And I really enjoy the specialty arena. So between the three of us, I think we have a very collaborative effort that I think goes really untouched as far as it's just something that gives you goosebumps every time you think about our partnership. And that's what really makes it possible.
That's beautiful. I think, what really stands out is the passion, the connection, the camaraderie, all those things that some people go their entire life without feeling or living. So I think it's really special for you to share that. So thank you so much.
And I think also, working with external breeders, and working together, as far as, I've been very fortunate to work with several breeders, but I think ultimately when you find that winning combination, I have to include this because this spark for collaboration really stemmed from a partnership that I saw that really worked. And it was the combination with Danny Cardoza and Kathy Drabeck and of Westwood Collies. And they seem to be able to foster this collaborative effort of breeding dogs. And they bred the most beautiful collies. And to me, that they were those dogs that you would pull up to the fence, look into the yard, and they would just take your breath away. And I feel like as a breeder or an aspiring breeder, and I would tell young people this too, until you've had that moment, I think that you haven't quite captured it yet. And that's what I felt like when I saw the product of the collaborative effort between Kathy and Danny, is that they have been able to breed dogs that were just the quintessential collie. And that's what I hope fosters into my relationship with Rochella Veach and Vicky Soriano. So that's kind of how that rolls.
Well, let's wrap up with what would be some practical advice that you would give to somebody who's in that junior's age, getting involved in the sport of dogs, how to set up a sustainable life, both professionally and in dogs.
I think you should have a career other than dogs, only from the standpoint of showing dogs, only from the standpoint that it really is a lot of work. And I applaud handlers right and left. And I think what they do truly sometimes goes unnoticed. And so if you want to be a handler, you have to aspire to do the work. That being said, I think having a career in an external field, I think gives you a very well-rounded experience. That's something that you could take into, collaborating with people, teamwork, partnership, really being upfront and honest with your goals and vision. All of those things sort of play a factor both professionally and in dogs. And I think if you're able to foster that sort of effort between the two, I would advise young people to do that. And I think the other aspect that I would that I would recommend for young people is try new things. You know, if the breeding doesn't work, try again. You know, maybe try a different combination. You know, if you want to set out to be a breeder, be the best breeder you can. Place your dogs that you don't keep in wonderful homes. Ensure that you do right by the dogs that you have. Give them the best care that you can. Show people that you truly are a student of the breed. Go to seminars. Listen to people that have walked in your shoes before you. I sure am the breeder I am today because, like I said, of the shoulders that I stand on. And it's because of Danny and Kathy and Rochella and the late Joyce Wyman that I've been able to do what I've done. And I've taken a little piece from each breeder and I've created my own family of dogs. And if that's your goal, I think the world is your oyster. You know, you can just set free and, you know, do the best you can, you know, and no one can tell you that you should just hang it up. Only you can. And if you feel like you want to give it up or you want to hang it up, trace back to why you went into this and what it truly is about to be. And it's, you know, I say the one thing that I've sustained in my interest and encouragement in breeding dogs is the desire to create something truly beautiful. And I'm not an artist by any stretch of the imagination, but every time I do my own breedings, I feel that I walk into the shoes of an artist. And if you have,
it's your medium.
And if you have 3 dogs or 3 dogs, and I would recommend this for a young person. I have 3 dogs that sit on my desk, okay, that were not mine, but served as pivotal forces in my mental brain of what a beautiful collie should look like or what it would feel like. And I think of some of the greatest breed icons when I do a breeding. And I think of Mocha and Fallon and Connor, Shoreham Triumph Timeless, Rosebank Lochlarn Keep It a Secret, Country View Give My Regards. I think of these 3 dogs every single time I do a breeding. And I think of the big shoes that I must fill. But in some way, shape, or form, I think it's the most gratifying aspect of being a breeder. And that's what I would inspire young people, hopefully, to aspire to too.
I love that. It's taking an active role in history.
I don't think history can be recreated, or that you can't change history. But I feel like if you have a mental picture, Michael, I think that it's yours. It's yours to chase after, and you can create that beautiful collie. So
I love that. Well, thank you so much, George, for sharing your spirit, your experience and your stories and your advice with everyone watching. And we wish you the best of luck with both your professional pursuits and everything in dogs as well.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.